Filipinos are big food critics.
Okay.
They might have something else to say. But I try to keep it very traditional to what it should taste like. I'm going to speak from Toronto right now. I think we're still in the stage of introducing Filipino food because not a lot of people know what it is. I think a lot of people, and it's for me too, like when I go to a restaurant I don't know, I'm intimidated what to order because I don't know, right?
Why, hello there, food lovers, and welcome to The Hungry Immigrant, the place where flavors cross borders and cultures unite. I'm your host, Abang Brian, coming to you with stories, secrets, and the irresistible charm of Asian cuisine and heritage. Each week, we'll journey into the heart of what makes food more than just a meal. We'll talk to chefs, celebrities, home cooks, and food enthusiasts who have brought their heritage to our tables. From the bustling streets of Kuala Lumpur to the vibrant markets of Manila and Seoul to the Chinatowns of New York, Paris, and Toronto, we're exploring the magic of food that connects us all. So join us as we delve into the rich tapestry of Asian food culture and heritage, celebrating the traditions and innovations that make our culinary world so diverse and exciting. Now, get ready as today's episode promises to be a flavorful journey.
This is another episode of Hungry Immigrant, and I am truly an immigrant today because I'm not in DC, I'm not in Malaysia. I feel like I'm transported to the Philippines as I walk through the doors of iSLAS in Toronto. I am joined by a chef who is Filipino by heritage. I think by origins, he's born here. He's run iSLAS for 7 years now.
Yes.
And I think maybe you're my first Filipino guest. So you need to represent your country and your culture, okay?
Yes.
For those people who don't know Chef Marc Buenaventura, who is Chef Marc?
I'm very fortunate to be here in this space for the last 7 years. It was something that I thought, that in our generation right now, you don't really see it often, where, we could actually open up a restaurant and have like a nice dine-in restaurant. So for me, like it was a goal that came to life, a dream that came to a reality. So before this, I was actually selling cruises.
Okay.
I was an agent for like a few years, and so it was more of a change of career.
Okay.
But I reached a point in my life where I wanted to do something where it wasn't just about money, but it was just something I enjoyed doing, something that I love to do.
Okay.
And all in the same time of my wife coming to Canada, and now it just came to the point where I need a full-time job, and I had to really soul search myself and figure out things that I love to do versus what I hated. And I gave culinary a try. I gave it a shot, but with the mindset of doing something with Filipino food one day.
Number one, I believe you are not trained professionally in school. You didn't go to cooking school.
No, I didn't get to go to school. It was more trained in the kitchens, working with some great chefs.
No, but my question to that was where was the inspiration to actually dabble in cuisine come from?
I would have to draw like from a few sources, but I think one of the inspirations was when I was traveling back to the Philippines. That was one of the main things because I got to learn about our food, our culture in a different environment, right? Like I thought I knew everything about Filipino food, but when I went back home, it was such an eye-opener because I got to try dishes that I never heard about. And it really opened my eyes to be like, wow, like there's a lot about this food I don't know. And to try like some of the fruits that were just in the market and having them fresh, it really sparked my interest in getting into culinary.
Okay, and so you grew up in Toronto. You were born here. What's your first experience of Filipino food? It was in Toronto?
Yes. So Filipino food was a staple for us growing up.
Okay.
Right? It was at every family party. Every weekend we'd have family parties. So I guess I got to experience Filipino food that way, where all of our titos or titas would bring their best dish to the table, right? So every weekend we're eating good food. But as a kid, you're not really thinking about it. It was just something that was just there. But I guess my mom was it's like she's a great cook. I guess with Filipino food was her always calling me to taste test the dish before she finishes it. So she would call me, hey, try this dish. Does it need more salt? Does it need more pepper? More sugar? And that experience alone, I guess, now I'm taking that as a big inspiration for me now.
So before you were a master chef, you were a master taster, right?
Yes. As
And when you talk about your mother and your memories of tasting, what are the dishes that comes to your mind? What are the smells that comes to your mind?
Oh, right away, as you ask me the question, I think about like dishes like adobo or sinigang, which is like a tamarind soup, lumpia, which is like our spring roll.
Yeah.
I would always see my mom or my sister, they would be rolling like lumpias in the kitchen. And obviously, as a kid, you're like, let me be the first one to try it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, being a kid, it was just more of those things where I would notice and I would always see them doing it, like early in the morning or late at night. But I didn't pay much attention to it unless I knew what they were making, and obviously if it was something I liked, then I'd be like, okay, I'll help, right? I guess a good experience was like even bringing my friends over to the house. They're cooking lumpias in the kitchen. I would just grab them and let my friends try it.
Right.
And my friends they weren't all Filipino, but they loved it, right?
Yeah.
They didn't know what it was. I would just say, hey, this is just something we eat, but they loved it, right? They'd always ask me, oh, can you get more?
I think lumpia is simply, I think it's the same with most foods that are fried, right? Lumpia gets away with a lot. So lumpia, or in my culture, we call it popia. Yeah. It's just like a rice paper roll, or like something that, it's like an egg roll, right? Some people call it egg roll, some people call it spring roll. It can be filled with, lumpia usually is filled with pork meat. It can be vegetarian, can be like, there's so many different fillings. But at the end of it, once you wrap it, you roll it and then you fry it, right? So it's always going to be delicious when you fry anything, right? Actually, I have some Korean friends who, growing up, felt embarrassed to bring their friends home because the kitchen would smell a little bit different. Because in Korean culture, we do love fermentation, which sometimes smells a little bit different. Did you have that experience?
I guess the more embarrassing times I had as a kid, I would think was when my tito would come over and they would cook like we have a dish called toyo. It's like a fish, like a sardine, but it's very dried.
Okay.
So it's like very dried fish, but when you cook it, it smells like it travels, right?
Dried fish.
So the neighbors would always be like, "What are you guys doing over there?" Right? Like they'd always wonder what that smell is. I don't know how they would describe it, but it would wake people up. That's for sure, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But those are the ones that would, I guess, you wouldn't want to cook it inside. We would try to cook it outside.
Okay.
It was one of those dishes. It's like a breakfast meat dish. Right?
Breakfast dish.
Yeah, so we'd eat it with breakfast. Usually we'd cook that with some eggs and some garlic fried rice.
Okay.
And but it's a staple, I think, in a lot of Filipino homes, right?
Yeah. That's the reason why I did this podcast, because I really wanted to represent our culture as Asians all around the world and how our food has like changed, but also where it came from. Because like, if you tell me, number one, Filipino food is so diverse. And many people don't know that because everyone says adobo, right? That's all they know, adobo. Or if you're lucky, you know lechon or sinigang. Sinigang I know because in Malaysia we have singgang, which is exactly the same thing, right? It's a sour kind of broth and it's clear, right?
Yeah.
And then we have other ways of cooking it, but it's sour and it's tamarind, right? So it's very similar in culture, and I think that food unites us because there are so many similarities, but also to let other people who have not experienced our culture experience our culture. And I think Filipino food is getting a lot of traction these days, but I think it needs more definition because Philippines has how many islands? So like
7,300
and 60.
and so, yeah, 60. Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's changing every year, man. It changes every year.
But yeah, so like every state and every region and every island has their own way of cooking, right? And so that's why I think that it's very important to tell people like what our food really is. And so, which part of Philippines are you actually from?
So my parents are mainly from Manila. My dad is from an area called Tondo, which is like there's a good side and a bad side. Okay. No, but it's a very populated area. That's like one of the main hubs. Back in the days, it was even before I guess we were colonized, it was a kingdom actually. It was a kingdom of Tondo, right? So it has a lot of richness there as well. But then now, because Philippines, there's a lot of poverty there now, right? So it's very populated. But the food, some of the best food comes from that area as well. Like street food, the markets, a lot of pop-up, because a lot of people, they cook from there where they live.
Yeah.
But they sell some of the best dishes because they focus on just a specific dish, right?
Right. And sometimes it's just like on a small like carton in front of their house, right?
That's right.
And I think my memories of going to Manila and like Philippines, there are a lot of people squashed in one place. Some of the houses they are like it goes in, like it's long inside, I think, and then like they just bring the stuff out and just sell outside the house.
Fell outside, right?
What is your memories of like street food?
Oh man, I remember staying at my dad's place there. There's a guy that carries, I don't know what you call it, but where he has the stick and it has the two
Barrels or baskets.
but he's carrying there's two kinds. So there's a guy, he carries balut,
Okay,
which is like a fermented egg, or it's a duck embryo.
Okay.
But it's a staple dish in the Philippines, man. Everyone knows what balut is. And then, yes, taho is another one. But these two dishes, you'll be hearing these guys scream it at the end of each street.
Right.
And they'll scream it out, taho. But yeah, and everyone knows what that is. So in the morning, I know my wife especially, she loves starting her day with that, which is like a tofu. It's like a soft, silken tofu.
Yeah.
It's steamed, so it's really hot, and they put like a
Sugar.
sugar syrup on it with maybe tapioca.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, that's different. So like I was gonna say tahu in Philippines is in Malaysia we call it taufufa. So it's basically soy milk that is set,
Yes.
right? By I can't remember what the powder, a gypsum powder, if I'm not mistaken. It sets it, and then you have this ladle which is flat, right? And then you scoop it.
They scoop it. They put it in a cup.
Yes.
So it doesn't cost a lot, and you could start your day with it. And then on the flip side, what I was saying earlier with balut,
Yeah.
is like the aphrodisiac, in the aphrodisiac dish in the Philippines, right? Where these guys will be eating it late at night, right? Maybe midnight. I remember midnight he would always come. I'd be in the room or, maybe I'd be outside, but I would always hear him call it out. And the way
the guy.
the guy's carrying them.
So like he'll be on a stick, like has a stick.
Yeah, if you come in late at night or you'd be carrying it in front and you would just be screaming it out, balot, right? And, for the guys drinking outside, it's just one of those things they want to eat, right? Because, it will help you get through the night, right? Gives you that boost of energy.
I didn't know. I know this. This is mind blowing for me. Let's break it down. Let's break it down, guys. Okay. So, I think this is a topic that every Filipino will be talking about. But let's talk about it with a proper chef, right?
Yes.
So I have had it. Do not people find it cruel. I don't know what you think about it, but basically it's a duck egg that is already forming. Right, and so it's got an embryo in there, and I'm just describing what I tried. Right, you were right. We had it at night, but I did not know the significance of it being an aphrodisiac. Number one, I didn't know how people add it, but we just found it at night. And this guy would come around with a polystyrene kind of box because you want to keep it warm, and it's still warm.
Yes.
So it's got like a little. It's not a little duckling, but it's like an embryo.
Yeah, the embryo.
And you don't eat the shell. You peel it and then you just eat it. It's steamed, right? I think it's steamed, or is it boiled?
Steamed, yeah.
It's steamed, and then you just put a little bit of salt and then you eat it.
Salt or vinegar, right?
Oh,
If you have vinegar, yeah.
And what is Filipinos and vinegar? You guys love vinegar or
We
not?
really love vinegar, man. Vinegar is like I guess one of our key ingredients in our food too. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I guess it comes from the whole fermentation and preservation, right? Preserving our foods, like adobo could be there on your table all week, back in days when they didn't have refrigeration, right? Or some people, they still don't have refrigeration.
Yeah.
It's a way to just keep their food lasting, right?
Okay, so coming back to balut.
Yeah.
So then, like, honestly, when I added, the thing that bothered me is, like, the one that I add had some like soft bones. It's not like fully formed bones, but it's like
The parts of the bones that are forming, right?
yeah, it's forming, and it was mostly my mind that was kind of like.
But see, that's what you're looking at, right? This is the thing, right? I think people love it because of those different textures, right?
Okay.
You get a little bit of the crunch, but then you get a little bit of the embryo, which is like the creamy,
Yeah, I was gonna say. So like for me, the taste is like eating an egg. It tasted almost like an egg.
like an egg, but it gives you more. I think there's more flavor because it has a little bit of the soup in it, right? There's a little bit of the liquid, so you sip that first, right? So that's the
Tell me, how should we eat our balut? Like, tell me, Chef Marc, how do we eat balut?
My experience with balut though actually came from my grandfather.
Okay.
Right. He learned how to make incubators here in Canada. So he would actually grow the egg to the different process
Okay.
of the egg. So he would even grow to the point of balut too. So that now it formed, right? So when I was a kid, I thought it was just cool to watch, right? But I've tried it also in the Philippines, right, where he brings it around. But I think it's just one of those things where there's a little process to it, right? You break the shell, you open it up, you sip it, right? You can add the salt or the vinegar, and then it's a texture thing, man. I think it's one of those things where it's a more of the flavor, but it's also texture that you're eating it, right? So, but if you're looking at it and you're seeing it, you might gross yourself out. That's what most people do. But I think if you just take the bite, you'll start to appreciate the flavor. It's kind of like, I would compare it to like eating an oyster, right? You're eating an oyster. It doesn't look good to some people, right? But the slower you eat it, the more flavor you get from it, right? But if you swallow it, you won't get the flavor that you.
No, but you can't swallow balut. You can't. Can you swallow balut?
No, you can't swallow it. You gotta chew it. But that's when you start to appreciate the flavor more. That's how I'm gonna.
So when was the first time that you had balut?
When I was a kid.
Okay, and do you remember the first time you had it? What was your like?
I think it was an experience.
You are so
Because I would eat it with my brothers, my sister, my cousins.
Yeah.
So for us, it was just like a fun thing to try.
peer pressure.
It was a fun thing to try. It's not like, I wouldn't say it was something I'd run to get.
Yeah, yeah.
But as a kid growing up and seeing my Lolo do it, my Lolo was one of those guys where he tell you to do it, you gotta do it. Right?
Yeah.
You can't throw it away. So I was forced to kind of eat it too. Right? But I learned to like it. Right? I was like, okay, it's good.
And so you are second generation.
Yeah,
Second generation. Okay, so now you've told me a little bit about Chef Marc growing up as a child, the person who always tastes the food, and then the lumpias, and then like your trip back. And this is all your story, right? How has that affected who you are as a chef and the restaurant that you run?
For me, it's a lot of experience that brought me to culinary, right? Like, I think traveling to different countries or getting the opportunity to travel back to the Philippines was like I said, an eye opener for me. But now that I'm actually in the industry and I'm actually cooking, I didn't realize I'm gonna start learning about the history as well, which I love to know, because like even what you said earlier, I'm actually gonna look into that, because you said that your sinigang is called sinigang.
Yeah, we call it singgang. Yeah.
And maybe that's the root, because I know Philippines has a lot of Malaysian roots as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff piqued my curiosity in our food and our culture, and I think that's why I'm loving the industry even more now, because like I'm not only cooking for people, but I'm actually learning about our history, and I'm learning about why we cook this way. Why do we use these
Give me an example of some sort of discovery that you made.
just taking the coconut, for instance.
Yeah.
there's so many benefits of a coconut that, like, I don't know if I don't think we know as much, right? Like, I think it's something that we have an abundance of in the Philippines. But now that we don't have that abundance here, like, I still try to incorporate it in our food, right? Using coconut milk, using the coconut cream. But it's so beneficial for you health, like in terms of your health, but in terms of like how versatile it could be used in different dishes, right? And I love that about our food, right? It's like, oh, like I could use it. And then on top of that, we have coconut vinegar, right? So now it goes into all areas of food.
Like I was gonna add on because in some cultures it's the banana tree, in some cultures it's the coconut tree that they call the tree of life. Because like the banana tree, every part of the coconut tree can be used. So for example, whether it's an old coconut, young coconut, so like we have 3 stages of coconut, right? The young one, the medium, and then the old one. We use for different purposes. And then even the sabut, we call it sabut, the hair that's around the coconut, the old coconut, we use that for smoking. And then the leaves, we take them to make, I think you have it also, like, this rice that you cook, that you make into like, we call it ketupat. It's like compressed rice.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot the name, but they make it into they wrap it in the leaves.
The leaves, and so like I think it's definitely very interesting plant. How is all this translated in the menu here in iSLAS?
So with every dish, I think we try to represent an experience for like myself or my wife. When we came up with the menu, we thought about dishes that we loved, right? And like one of the dishes we have is called chicken inasal. So this experience is when me and my wife were dating. She obviously was working when I would visit her, but sometimes I would just be waiting, right? I'd wait at the mall or this restaurant that I found called Mang Inasal, right? Which is a very popular chain now in the Philippines, right? It's all over. But they make the best, like, for me, anyway, like, it was new to me when I first tried it, but I never knew about that dish before. But it's so good. Like, it's really good. It's made with a lot of lemongrass, ginger, has a lot of sweetness to it and they add a calamansi, which gives it a little sourness. But it's a grilled dish. It's a grilled it's basically like a grilled chicken. Coming back to Toronto, there's not many places where you could get it.
Yeah.
So even before I was even in the restaurant, I really did my research and tried to learn how to make it, just for myself and my wife. It was just something that we missed. So I learned to make it, and then we added it on the menu, right?
All right. So like iSLAS menu is 100% Filipino.
I would say it's 100% Filipino.
Yeah.
I think people would, Filipinos are big food critics.
Okay.
So they might have something else to say. But I try to keep it very traditional to what it should taste like. I'm not trying to say it's the best way to do it,
Right.
but I think a lot of the dishes that we put on there, like I said, like with the adobo,
Yeah.
obviously people will like it the other way.
Yeah.
But it gives it an experience so that someone that would come to our restaurant, they're going to try it different. They could still eat it,
I guess
but it's an experience for them.
for them to experience your expression of Filipino food, I would think so.
That's right.
That's what you're saying, right?
Because I'm not trying to compare it to theirs, right? Like for instance, another dish we have is kare kare. It's a peanut stew.
Yeah.
Usually served with beef or oxtail and tripe, but we serve it here with a crispy pork belly. So we have all the vegetables like the beans, the eggplant, the bok choy, and the bagoong on the side, but we serve it with a crispy pork belly on top. So, and that makes, when we started the restaurant, we didn't know that it's stuck on the menu because people just kept coming back for that.
Did you face any difficulties in terms of the ingredients? Did you have to change anything? Did you need to replace anything?
I think for us, it's like we're kind of limited as well because we don't have like calamansi, for instance, right? Which is like the Filipino lemon. So we use lime or lemon, right? So it's little things like that we had to replace, right? or
But it's not the same though. Like the most simple for me is like when you squeeze calamansi into like I like soy sauce in my bird's eye chili and calamansi. You know what I'm saying? So calamansi to me is like a marriage between a lemon and orange.
yes,
I think.
it has that sweetness and sour, right? So lime is the closest thing, I think. So we'll give that when we serve like our side sauce. We'll give them a piece of lime so they can squeeze it into the sauce. So those are the little replacements we do.
And do you think this compromises?
I don't think it's far away from like what it could be in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But it's, you kind of got to work with what you have, right? Where like, obviously fish, like we don't have the exact same fishes in the Philippines, but we have red snapper here. So I use red snapper to replace, right? For some of no, like, so we have a fish called lapu lapu.
Oh, lapu-lapu, yes, the red one.
Yeah, which is like I guess maybe a groper or snapper. So it's very similar, very close to the fish, right? So that's what we use here, right? We try to serve it like what we had in the Philippines. So, and I think it's just as good, right? Like I'm not gonna say it's better. Like obviously it doesn't. We're in Toronto, right?
Yeah,
So it's different.
And you've been speaking about a few dishes already that I think is very iconic of the Filipino cuisine and Filipino food. But for people who don't know, which I don't believe, like if people tell me they don't know what Malaysian food is or what Malaysia is, I'm so sorry, I'm Malaysian, I can say this, right? And all the Malaysians who are watching right now, I'm sorry, but like when you travel the world, many people don't know Malaysia or Malaysian food. But, dude, wherever you go, you can find a Filipino. You guys are everywhere, right? But that being said, for someone who does not know Filipino food, what is Filipino food to you?
Man, there's so much ways to answer this question, right? I guess it just depends on who's speaking.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a very close to home, right? Because Filipino food, I would say, is very home cooked style, right? Where we have a lot of stews, a lot of soup, a lot of dishes that are like, bring back a lot of memories. Like even from my Lola, which was like my grandmother, she loves sinigang, for instance, right? So like, that brings me a memory of her, right? So when I make sinigang, like it's something that's comforting to me, right? But I think that's what it is, and it's also a very how can I say, for any person, any average working Filipino, like it's very easy for them to make adobo for home, right?
Yeah.
And it could feed the whole family. So I think Filipino food is one of those things where we have different areas of it. Like we specifically chose barbecue because we wanted to represent the more of the times where Filipinos got together. So like when we would have family parties, like there was always barbecue there.
Is that like a Filipino thing? I realized that it's like you first thing you mentioned is like the weekend parties, right?
Yeah.
And like I think this is very Filipino per se because like Malaysians, we don't really have that. I don't think so. We have the festivities. Well, to be honest, like in Malaysia, we have so many holidays. So we always get together during the holidays. So I guess that kind of helps. But like, I think the weekend thing is like every weekend.
I think I guess maybe this was a Filipino cultural thing because it was kind of those things where like, I don't know, maybe it was because my family, when they came here, they didn't have much family here either. So like the friends or whoever they knew, they would make an effort to kind of get together on the weekends and have parties or play mahjong, right? I don't know if you guys play mahjong, but they would play mahjong.
Pero it's better that, but yes, in Malaysia there's mahjong as well.
So all of them play mahjong, and then at the same time, food is always the what brings us together, right? Like you need food there and you need food left over so that people can take it home.
Okay, tell me about this because I realize this every time I go to a Filipino party.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, how many people are coming? Because I see the food, and then the tita or the auntie will always bring like all these ziplocs.
Yeah.
Right after, I'm like, what's going on?
Well, a lot of Filipinos, to be honest, they don't know how to cook for just themselves. Like, well, I think now people are cooking for themselves, but Filipinos, they cook, when they cook a lot, right? So we always cook more than we need. So when we have family parties, it's kind of just expected that there's something to take home. And people know that. So usually after any party, they're ready to take something back with them.
Do you think that even the recipes themselves reflect this? For example, right? You said Filipinos don't cook for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like a bololo. You can't cook it for two people.
It's
The recipe is
shareable, very shareable food.
crafted around this culture of
Yeah, like family style. Like I said, family style, home cooked style. So it is, a lot of our food is very shareable, right? We don't really have like the French style where you could have a one bite or two bites, right? I think now Filipinos, like the culinary students now, they're learning to do it that way.
yeah.
But there's not many places where you could actually do that, right? Or there's not many dishes where I've seen where you could put like sinigang in one bite, like I think people are getting creative now and they're doing it, but it's very new.
That's one of the directions that people are taking with food. And what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'm going to speak from Toronto right now. I think we're still in the stage of introducing Filipino food because not a lot of people know what it is, right? So a lot of it is like we need to educate the people on like what ube is and what what tamarind is, or like a lot of these things they don't know, right? It's kind of like they see chicken, they see beef, they see shrimp on the menu, but they don't know what else is adding to it, right? So it's hard, you have to find a balance where how can we introduce it to them in a way where it's simple, but it's still very approachable, right? Because I think a lot of people, and it's for me too, like when I go to a restaurant I don't know, I'm intimidated what to order because I don't know, right? Like I know it might be good, but I just don't know where to start, right? So I think in Toronto anyway, Filipino food is still in the introduction stage, but I think moving forward with like, people that are getting into culinary, they're learning to make Filipino food a little bit more modern now, right? And I think that's slowly where it's going.
What is modern?
Because even in the Philippines, like I would say the culinary kids now, like they're actually turning it into like a French style cuisine too. They're modernizing it in that way where, because their audience is like people that know Filipino food, but they want to experience it in a different way. So I guess that could be the future eventually in Toronto. But right now, we're still in that introduction of like, what is it? Like, is it good? Is it something we could order every week or every day?
Yeah.
Or is it just something like another trend right now is the whole experience on the banana leaf, right? That's big right now. It's actually trending, I would say. Like
In Toronto?
where they could eat with their hands and they could eat it all on banana leaves. So so we offer that here, and it's very popular. Like for someone that doesn't know Filipino food, I think that's what they go to first. Usually we get a lot of good feedback, right? We get a lot of like first of all they love the experience.
Yeah.
They love to try to eat it new with their hands.
Yeah.
And then 3, the flavors, right? They love the combination of it all.
Do you agree that when you eat with your hands, it tastes different?
I would say so.
Can you please tell me why? Because I believe that exactly the same thing. I'm like,
I think so, man. I think so. You try it with a spoon and a fork, and you try it with your hands. I don't know. It just tastes better.
how do you guys eat with your hands?
I use my right hand because I'm right-handed,
Oh, okay.
right? And I guess, I don't know. I guess it's come so natural where you kind of like bringing things together.
Yeah, you see, even the way you move your hands is different. So like, it's a cultural thing.
Bringing things together, like you're taking a little bit of this, a little bit of the, obviously we like to eat a lot of stuff with rice, so we'll take a little bit of the meat, put it on the rice, kind of like you're making your own sushi, and then you're just throwing it, you're putting it in your mouth, right? We have a lot of side sauces,
Yeah.
right? Or condiments, right? So we add a little bit, like you could have the best made dish, and this is the thing where I guess Filipinos will struggle because like for French, they like, this is the way they want to eat it. Like this is the bite.
Yeah.
But Filipinos will be like, where's the vinegar? Where's that squeeze of lemon? Right? Because we want to add that little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of extra flavor to it.
How is the perception of Filipino food now in Toronto for you? Is it seen as something, in your opinion, what is it seen as?
I would say for the perception of Filipino food, I think we're now in a good space to introduce it because now we're slowly getting stuff from the Philippines here. Like we have our 2 Filipino beers that we serve here, which is San Miguel, and then we have Red Horse, which is the strong beer.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't play. Red Horse don't play.
Yeah, drink 1 or 2. But after the 3rd, I don't know if you're going to make it home, right? But giving the guests an experience where they could have like sisig, which is like one of our staple dishes on a sizzling platter.
Yeah.
And giving them a Red Horse. Like that's an experience that a Canadian could have that is like, back home in the Philippines, it's like an everyday thing. Right. And the more people that try it that way and they try it the way we eat it, that's why we get more guests coming because they talk about it. Right. Once they start saying, oh, you got to try this thing. I didn't know what it was, but it was so good with a Red Horse. Then next thing you know, we got like new customers coming in. I think we're actually going against a different tide, man, because I think Filipinos had already the bad stereotype.
With this?
Of like, it's greasy, it's all fried food. It's like we're using all these bad, like different parts, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's already like, there's more of a negative stereotype against Filipino food. So I think the chefs now, you're kind of going against the mainstream in a sense, where we're like, we're introducing our food, but we're also trying to get respect to kind of push it to the mainstream as well, right?
So there is still that stereotype.
There is still that, right? And that's why, like for us, that's the challenge, I guess, for most Filipino chefs, because you're trying to also feed the community, the people, but you're also going against the stereotype and trying to make it pleasing for someone that doesn't know Filipino.
You've got to actually check out the menu on their website, iSLAS. I think for those people who are listening to this podcast, if you want the link to iSLAS website, please just look at the description. I've also included the link to our YouTube where you can actually check out the video right behind this show. So what I did and what I'm doing is I'm traveling around the world and I've got one that's prepared by me. One that's prepared by a nasi lemak. Do you know what nasi lemak is?
No.
So nasi lemak is our national dish. It's coconut rice served with sambal, anchovies, peanuts, and cucumber and an egg. And that's a breakfast thing, right? Coconut rice. Right? And sambal is very important in our culture, right? So it's produced by one of the biggest nasi lemak chain in Malaysia. The most popular. Anyone in Malaysia knows this chain. And one is made by one of the top food influencers in Malaysia, where the person is now selling these bottles by the jars and they're pushing it on TikTok. Apparently, they sold like 100,000 units in just 1 hour, something like that. They made ringgit 1 million just on one show. So I'm just putting it out there and letting people taste, and we'll see which sambal you actually like.
All right, awesome.
Okay, so we are in our last segment, my favorite segment, where I get to introduce a little bit of my culture to all the immigrants all over the world. And this is sambal. So there's 3 sambals here. And those people who are listening to this through, if you're listening on a podcast, I would recommend you to actually go to the description. I've included a link to the YouTube video where you can actually see for yourself visually, because I know like through podcast sometimes through audio you can't really tell what's going on, right? But you can actually watch me and Chef Marc taste these 3 different sambals. Let's just taste it and then tell me what you think. You have your chicharron, which you can try with chicharron. You can try rice or bread or whatever.
What do you suggest? Just as is?
I would try it as is.
As is.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we gonna get in here? So this one first? Which one?
Yeah, let's try that first. So if you look at it, right, first and foremost, it's different in colors as well.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more orange, looks like. Is that enough? Or are you having some too?
Yeah, I'm gonna take some as well.
I'll get a little bit more. I want to get the flavor in there. I smell garlic.
Yeah, I noticed that.
This one's sweet. Tastes sweet. Has like that is sambal made with more of like a fish or like a shrimp?
It can be both. It can be both.
Okay.
So like some people, they don't do it at all. The basic is just chili, onion, and garlic. That's the base. And then some people put ginger. Some people put anchovies or dried prawns, and then it's sugar, and then it's tamarind as well. So it depends on the variation, but so that's what you taste. Okay,
But this one I taste a lot of like sweetness, garlic. Yeah, the onion in the background. Yeah.
okay. Second one.
Right. And this one is whose? Yours?
No, we can't tell you.
Oh, you can't.
And I won't say which one is mine.
So what's giving it the color? What's making it orange or red? Or...
So number 1 is the type of chilies that we use. Okay. Number 2 is how long you cook the chili for. Mm-hmm. And also the mixture of different ingredients.
No. That's one spicy.
Wait.
Wow, this one gets hotter as it goes.
This is spicy.
Right? It starts off sweet, then the after is just hotter. I like this one though. I don't know. I like this one. I think it's more like I don't know if there's tomato in there, but it has like a more of a sweet. At first, I'm thinking like a tomato flavor, but
yeah, I think it's probably tamarind.
Yeah, it has that sweet, nice flavor in there.
Sweet sour.
But that chili is definitely a hot chili, man. You guys have a lot of chilies in Manila?
We have chilies, like a lot of chilies.
Like are they like the bird eye chilies or like?
So you don't use bird eye chili for sambal.
Oh.
You would kill yourself.
Oh, poor thing.
Maybe some people cook 1 or 2. But usually we use like dried chilies, and even the type of dried chilies that we use are different. So you have the ones that and the way we tell the part. I'm sure there's a scientific way to tell it apart, but I learned from the aunties, right? So that's this how they teach me. The more crinkled it is, the more spicy it is. I don't know. This is the Malaysian version of.
And that's from the dry chili.
Yeah, dried chilies, and then you have fresh chilies one as well.
So what's the difference between using dry and a fresh chili? Is it a big difference?
If you would imagine, fresh chilies will give you a greener taste, I would say. It's like, the difference between a red chili and a green chili? It has that.
Yeah. A little bit more bitterness.
Yeah, bitterness. Yeah, a bit of a bitterness. But I feel that dried chilies there's more of a smoky kind of flavor to it. And you can play around with it more.
Okay.
Fresh chilies, it's very obvious which is a fresh chili sambal.
I like that one. It has a long aftertaste, but you're right, it's the tamarind though. The sweetness in the tamarind.
Okay, and the last one.
Right.
Go ahead.
Exciting.
I hate this one.
I guess this one's not yours. So it has to be this one or this one then. Which is yours?
Which is your favorite? No, I don't hate this one. This one's not bad.
That one's not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad. I think the second one is the one that...
Maybe that's the commercial brand one.
So which is your favorite?
Okay. No, I'm going to say that one, the last one, was more of like... it's more of like a medium thing, like you could eat it with different things, right? I think I like the middle one though, to be honest. Like the first one has more of the garlic hit,
Yeah.
but the middle one, yeah, the hotness was there though. It was a little hot, but I like the sweetness part of it when I first bit it.
Okay. So to find out which is Chef Marc's favorite, check out the YouTube video. The link is in the description.
You mix the two? Can you eat like different sambals with one meal? Like do you guys, or just eat one?
Well, different sambals have different use for me. Like, for example, a sambal that you put on grilled fish and a sambal that you you fry the fish together. So that dishes where you just grill the fish, you put it on top.
But the sambar, are you using it as like it's a hot sauce for you guys? Like, are you eating it like it's a hot sauce?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like with rice, with like on top of grilled fish or fried chicken. Yeah. No, and you don't eat it that's like that.
Yeah. Now that we were talking like that, because I feel like they could be used for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like the first one, I feel like could be good as a marinade too. Like where the second one, you could add that to like a soup or something. Huh?
To a soup.
But anyway,
That's an interesting way of thinking about it.
that's how I'm thinking about.
Oh, I know, like a chili oil kind of thing.
Like that, yeah. Well, it brings that background flavor.
Understand. Oh well, so the results is on the YouTube video, so check it out. And before we leave, any last words from Chef Marc?
I just want to thank you guys for including us in this podcast. We appreciate just this conversation. Actually, I learned a lot of new things from just hearing from where you're coming from. Even just reminding myself where we've been and what we've been through, and where we're going. Right. So I just want to say thank you guys for including us, and all the best, man, here next episode.
Thank you so much for joining us. Big shout out to also your wife Marielle for helping us coordinate everything, and also taking a leap of faith, because no one knows me in Toronto, okay? No one knows this Malaysian boy who suddenly just email and DM. I was just trying my luck. I was like, will these people actually respond? So thank you for actually responding and being part of our podcast and being part of our project to preserve Asian heritage and Asian food, right? But also, if you want to check out more about the restaurant, iSLAS and Chef Marc, maybe you can share your Instagram,
Yeah, you could follow us at on Instagram iSLAS TO or iSLAS Toronto, or you could go to our website www.islasto.com. We're on mainly all social media. We don't have a podcast yet, but slowly we're trying to put out more content in videos and pictures and just getting our name out there at different events in the city.
All right. So thank you very much for joining us on the show and sharing all your experiences and your story, right? Truly, it was a very heartfelt conversation for me. And also because you're my first Filipino guests, I think I'm laughing a lot and I'm connecting a lot because my partner is Filipino, and like I see whatever you're saying, I connect with it. And there are some parts where I think I need to question the other person soon, because I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Filipino is not just that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so to all our audiences, thank you for listening in. This has been another episode of The Hungry Immigrant. My name is Abang Brian. As usual, I will always advise everyone to keep their plates adventurous and their hearts open.
Terima kasih and thank you for joining us on yet another episode of The Hungry Immigrant. It's been a delightful feast of stories and flavors that remind us just how much food brings us together. Now don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you'll never miss an episode. And if you loved today's culinary journey, leave us a review and share the episode with your friends and family. Your support helps keep our traditions alive and our tables more diverse. Do follow us on Instagram at Hungry Immigrant and my personal account Abang Brian for behind-the-scenes looks and extra tidbits from each episode. We love to see how food inspires you, so do tag us in your next food adventure. I'm Abang Brian, reminding you to savor every bite and cherish every moment at the table. Until next time, keep your plates adventurous and your hearts open.